This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic. What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. It is November 15th, 2021. Your host, Jonathan Osborne. As always, I am joined by my co-host, the Sultan of the Slamdunk Sesame, Luke Sylvia. What's going on, my man? How are you?
I'm good, man. By my daughter's choice, who didn't know what she was doing, watched the first Christmas movie of the season. Watched Polar Express. It was on TNT today. My daughter flipped to it as one of our previous channels because I think I was watching basketball on TNT sometime recently. So flipped to it, watched a little bit of Polar Express. And then, that was about it. Had a pretty good Sunday. Went out to eat, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully it set me up for a good week. Did you do anything today?
I didn't really do anything at all today, as a matter of fact. We woke up, the little one wasn't feeling that well, so we're big proponents of don't bring your sick kids to church. So we don't bring our sick kids to church. So we just kind of hung out at the house today. I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts, you and Lauren, on do you go right into Christmas, right, the day after Halloween, or are you no, it's not even Thanksgiving yet, we're gonna hold off? How do you guys handle that?
So in Lauren's growing up, obviously has a lot to do with how you grow up. Lauren's house growing up, on Black Friday is when they put up all their Christmas stuff and started getting in the Christmas spirit, right? My family, it was always after Thanksgiving, not necessarily Black Friday, probably that weekend. So we're both in the camp of put your Christmas tree up after Thanksgiving. However, and watch Christmas movies after Thanksgiving, broke that rule today because Harper just flipped it on, and I was like, you know what, fine. Last year was so weird that we're open to everybody, doing the Christmas tree thing way sooner than Thanksgiving because last year was so crappy. It was crappy for everyone with COVID, right? It was crappy for us because, Lauren had just had Harper and Lauren had to go to Florida, all that kind of stuff. I was working a ton. So this year I'm probably just more open to it than I ever have been in terms of starting Christmas earlier than Thanksgiving. But normally it's we're definitely big after Thanksgiving people.
I think there's just a natural Christmassy things, Christmas commercials, different candies that come out, Christmas music just kind of lifts the spirit at least 10% by default.
Yeah.
So we start my favorite thing is the Ghirardelli's, the peppermint bark. So it's the white chocolate with the peppermint flakes and the milk chocolate on the bottom. And then probably my favorite candy in the world are the peppermint, the candy cane Hershey Kisses.
Yeah,
where it's the
good.
white chocolate with the peppermint swirls in it. Yeah. So I'm all about that. And then midnight, November 1st, we're playing Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. We're on top of
November
that.
1st, huh?
November 1st, we're playing the music. Now, we're in the same boat as Lauren's family. The day after Thanksgiving, we usually the tree goes up and we get all that stuff, going.
Yeah. Well, it snowed here the other day. And so that no matter what happens, I know a lot of people listening, if you're in Florida, you're I don't really know what you're talking about. If it snows, you automatically feel like Christmas.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It started snowing the other day. It wasn't sticking, but it was definitely, I had it landed on my jacket, all that kind of stuff. And it was wow, Christmas is coming.
Well, the funny thing is, the people that talk about, oh, you're skipping Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving isn't really a season.
There's also no Thanksgiving music, so.
Yeah, there's no Thanksgiving music. Halloween, it's everybody's got, the pumpkins out and, their skeletons and everybody, decorates their yard. Nobody really decorates for Thanksgiving.
They've got rotten pumpkins sitting out from their decor from Halloween. That's what they got.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or maybe some turkeys around the house.
Yeah, you might have some, placemats and little knickknacks that you put
Fall
up, some
leaves.
turkeys, some leaves, stuff like that. But Halloween and Christmas are definitely the bigger decoration holidays. So I don't see any issue with getting in the Christmas spirit, taking your 2-3 day break, to get through Thanksgiving and all that craziness, and then just right into Christmas. My thing is is it ever too early to celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior? Like, are we talking about blasphemy or what's going on here? You know, like if you want to celebrate Christmas all round, like all year round, like, you know, do you? That's just my personal opinion.
I guess, but all I want for Christmas for you is not like Jesus type stuff.
I didn't say they're playing it during worship service.
I'm just saying, you know, like that Christmas
song just
music
always slaps. Like I'm not listening to it in July.
She makes so much freaking money, dude.
It's 50 degrees outside here on a Saturday.
She starts defrosting once Halloween ends, and she's coming out for winter. So that song, she makes so much money. It's stupid just from that song.
Look, I think there's an argument for that being like the greatest Christmas song of all time. Like
some people hate it as a result, though.
Well, you know who else probably hated it? Ebenezer Scrooge. All right, that's some bah humbug for you. So, anyways, Luke, let's talk some Orlando Magic basketball. We've got a housekeeping item really quickly. We want to shout out our patrons here. Shout out to Court Cousins, Drew Gooden, Armin, Keith Garcia, Zico, Carson Tulo, Nathan Lynn, Ellis, Jonathan Borges, Norm L, Magic Player History, Julio, and Joseph Chubb. Really appreciate you guys. If you guys haven't heard already, this coming Tuesday, that will be the 16th at 8 o'clock Eastern, we'll be having our first exclusive patron Zoom call for our Hall of Fame tier patrons. So if you guys are interested hanging out with us.
10 a month?
Yeah, it's the $10 a month package that we have there. The Hall of Fame tier. It includes things like, you know, access to our Discord channel, patron exclusive, podcast episodes, which we're currently working on getting our first one up and running for you guys to enjoy that. And then like a monthly Zoom call with us, really just to hang out, talk Magic basketball. You guys can ask us anything that you want. It doesn't have to do with basketball. That's totally fine.
Maybe we give you some peeks into what we're thinking as upcoming guests on the show, what we're working on, that type of stuff.
Exactly. So yeah, that's going to be the 16th, 8 o'clock Eastern. I hope you guys will come and hang out and just appreciate that. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Really appreciate all the support. We can't do what we do without you guys. So again, thank you to our patrons so much. Luke, let's talk the weekly steak of the Orlando Magic, or weekly state of the Orlando Magic.
I was going to say steak. I'm hungry.
Steak. Yeah, I'm thinking about a nice medium rare ribeye right now. But your Orlando Magic went 0-2 this week with a 123-90 blowout loss at home to the Brooklyn Nets and a 104-92 loss to the Washington Wizards at home. To be perfectly honest and transparent and frank with you guys, we're not all that excited to talk about the games from this week because they didn't go great. So we'll talk about that. We'll get through that. But then we've got some other things that we want to discuss as they pertain to the maggots. Wow. Magic. Dude, this podcast episode is headed downhill really quickly.
Wow, the maggots.
The maggots. That's kind of how it feels right now. They sit with a record of 3-10, which is the worst record in the Eastern Conference. It is the third worst record in the entire NBA. They are currently 27th in offensive rating, 26th in defensive rating. They are 29th in net rating. All of those numbers would tell you the Magic are not good. In terms of the toughest remaining strength of schedule, we told you last week that the Magic still had the toughest remaining strength of schedule in the entire NBA. And Sunday evening, according to Tankathon.com, Luke, that still rings true.
Yeah, so, you got like it says on here, toughest opponents. Warriors twice, Wizards 3 times, Suns twice, Nets 3 times, Nuggets twice, Mavs twice. So fun rest of the way for us.
Look at the other column and tell us what you see there in terms of easiest opponents.
Oh, easiest opponents, right? 2 games against the Rockets, 2 against the Pelicans.
I meant everyone else's easiest opponents.
Oh, everyone else's. Oh, right. The Magic. The Magic's on every list there for you. So
yeah. So that's
also, by the way, the fact that the Hawks and the T-Wolves both made it, like they made it on the easiest. The T-Wolves should show you that it's not that easy.
Yeah. Well, folks, that is your weekly state of the Magic, brought to you by us. Something fun happened this week, actually, Luke.
Yeah.
I believe it was 2 days ago. I think it was Friday.
Yeah.
So Kevin Clark covers the NFL for The Ringer. He's Orlando native, grew up, born and raised here.
Boone High School.
Big Orlando Magic fan. What was
you
that?
You guys are familiar. Boone High School there in Florida.
I remember Boone High.
Yeah. I remember always playing Boone. They're very good. in all their sports, basically. So I remember playing Boone. They always killed us.
Solid. But yeah, Kevin Clark, big Orlando Magic fan. For some reason, he came across the opening night performance of the Magic's inaugural season back in 1989, where they debuted basically the classic Orlando Magic theme song, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. You know, that whole bop there. It's an absolute banger. But he found that video, tweeted it out, and really over the next few hours, it kind of took NBA Twitter by storm. Basically everybody that I follow commented on it in one way or the other. And then the Orlando Magic, their official Twitter account, came across Kevin Clark's tweet and kind of saw the engagement that was getting across Twitter. And rightfully so, they decided to take advantage of it and tweeted out, hey, guys, if this tweet gets 1,000 retweets, we will play this at the next home game. So it took them 13 minutes, Luke, to get 1,000 retweets. I don't know if we have 1,000 retweets total in the almost 3 years of our social media account. 1,000 retweets in 13 minutes is absolutely incredible. So I was at the game Saturday night, and a minute before tip-off, when they play the Orlando history video that usually is some type of hype song to get everybody excited for the game, they play the Orlando Magic theme song. Luke, and when I tell you, it wasn't pockets of the crowd that were really into that. Everybody in the building got legitimately excited about that song. So it was a lot of fun. Luke, what are your thoughts on the song?
I mean, it is something that was before my time, right?
Yes.
But I was made aware of it probably 8 years ago, maybe. Probably in one of my YouTube, deep dives into nothing. And you had the wizard up there. You had all those. By the way, what are your thoughts on that guy? Beginning of the video, and also, can you tell me? I don't know. Did they ever bring him back? Did he stick around for a little bit before they were like, we don't want to do this anymore?
That I really don't know.
Because that was my wife's. I had my wife sit down and watch it. That was my wife's favorite part.
Well, it's incredible.
And when he came on the court and was dancing, you could catch him just anywhere on the screen.
Yeah,
incredible, electric, honestly.
Well, so I think I came across that really not all that long ago, maybe a year and a half to 2 years ago. If you guys listen to our friends over at the Orlando Magic UK, they have taken kind of that Wizards opening monologue where it's if you truly believe in the Magic, then you have to believe. That whole thing, they have incorporated that into their intro, which I love it, and I'm really jealous that we didn't think of that first just because it's hilarious. But that whole monologue, it's really funny because obviously it's very kind of cheesy and corny and kind of on the nose, playing up the Magic. He's Merlin the Magnificent.
Right.
But almost in a way, he kind of makes it menacing, towards the end. The Magic are coming to get you. You know what I mean? So I did appreciate that. I don't think it would go over quite as well today. Obviously, you think back to the 80s.
No, it would get roasted.
It is very a campy time period. But no, I thought it was awesome. I think it's hilarious. I do wish that they would make that a regular staple. So they said if they get 10,000 retweets on that same tweet, that they'll play it every home game for the rest of the season. Right now, I think the last time I checked, it's around 4,000, maybe getting close to 5,000. So it's definitely losing a lot of steam. Right now, you have 4,364 retweets. I don't think it's going to get to 10K, but they were smart for setting it at 10K because at that point, we just want to get as many retweets as we can.
Yeah.
They would be wise, I think, to bring that back every game for the rest of the season. And in my opinion, moving forward, forgive me for, I'm not stealing your idea, but I read this person's tweet and I can't find it right now in front of me. But basically they said that this just goes back to everything that fans have been asking for from the Magic. It all ties back to the glory days of Orlando Magic basketball and Orlando Magic culture. When you're talking about Shaq and Penny, you're talking about this era specifically with the old school, opening music, the pinstripes, the old school logo, all of these things that Magic fans are hey, we want to go back to this because it reminds us, one, it's very nostalgic. It kind of brings you back to your youth when you just think everything was so much better because we can all agree life was much easier and better when we were younger. But it also reminds us of when the team was good and respected and successful. And I mean, especially the logo and the jerseys are just iconic pieces of NBA history. If you talk to a random person on the street and you ask them, what do they think of the Orlando Magic, they're almost always going to bring up the pinstripes, Shaq, and Penny. So I don't think it's not very often that a player is like that ingrained in a team's culture. Like you talk about like Michael Jordan, and the Bulls. You talk about Kobe, and the Lakers. But like going around the league, like right now, sure, you might say Damian Lillard, but what does that really have to do with like Portland and like the Trailblazers culture? Like the Trailblazers have been successful for a really long time. Not trying to rag on, the Blazers, but I think that is unique in a sense to the Orlando Magic that a jersey and a time period like that is such a big part of what people think about and about the culture. All right, Luke, let's get into the games of this past week. So like we said, not great. We don't want to spend a ton of time on these games because the Magic, there's no other way to put it. They played two teams that were much, much better than them this week. It showed in each of those games, the Magic's youth, inexperience, and honestly, they just got their butts kicked. Starting with Monday, a 123-90 blowout loss at home to the Brooklyn Nets. What did I say? Monday? It was Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday. I have that written in front of me. Again, can't speak tonight. Our listeners are used to it by this point. The Magic were only down 5 after one, Luke. And then LaMarcus freaking Aldridge, a guy who was literally retired like 4 months ago. Okay? Yeah. 13 points in 4.5 minutes in the second half. Okay? Yeah. Second quarter. Again, I can't freaking speak tonight. What's going on with my brain? But the Nets were up 14 after the first. They were up 12 at the half, up 19 after the third quarter. They end up winning the game by 33. Again, 123-90 in this game. Just to give you a little bit of context, Luke, the Magic shot 4 of 33 from the three-point line in this game. 3 of those were from Wendell Carter and Mo Bamba, and then Ignas Brazdeikis hits one in garbage time. That is good for 12.1% from the three-point line, Luke. You add 17 turnovers in this game. You look at the Nets, they shoot 50% from the floor, 43% from the three-point line. The same amount of rebounds as the Magic. The only reason for that is because the Nets just would not and could not miss. Kevin Durant, 30 points, 11 of 12 from the floor.
That was crazy to me, right? Like, you look at KD and what he has to do with this Nets team. Legitimately, what he has to do is score. Like, that's all he has to do, Jonathan. He lit it up in no other category. He had 2 assists and 5 rebounds. And also, of his 30 points, only 2 of them were threes. He was doing anything he wanted. He was driving and dunking. He was hitting mid-range shots with a hand in his face. It didn't matter what you did. He shot 92% from the floor. And also, I occasionally partake in DraftKings, right? I had Kevin Durant in my lineup, and his fantasy points were terrible because the only thing he did was score. But he was so frustrating to watch at the same time as a Magic fan because it felt like no matter what the Magic did defensively, he was going to score. This was just a good old, they're better than you. That's why they won the game. Like, they're just better. They outclassed, out-talented the Magic on Wednesday night.
The Magic actually had like multiple defensive, like really solid defensive possessions, particularly in the first half. Yeah. And every single time it just ended up with the ball in Kevin Durant's hand and him hitting a tough shot over somebody. It just happened enough in that first quarter, give them a little bit of space. And then like really LaMarcus Aldridge came into the game and broke the game open. Again, he finishes, it was 21 points on the night. He had 13 points in 4.5 minutes to open that second quarter. And at that point, like the Magic just never really got close again. James Harden, a guy who's kind of been struggling offensively to start the year, 17 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, triple-double. But you're 100% right. Like, this game just came down to, and Luke, I feel like you and I have had this conversation before. When I'm watching a game like Tuesday night on TNT,
Yeah.
I'm watching like, the Nuggets and like the Suns play. I'm watching this game and I'm like, these teams are not playing the same sport that the Magic play.
No.
Like we're lucky enough to play in the same league as these other teams, but they're not doing the same things. Like the object of the game does not seem to be the same when the Magic are playing. And I'll say this, it seems like it's every Magic game, because the games that we are competitive, we ugly up the games. It's not because we're looking like this sophisticated, high-powered offense most of the time. Yeah. We just drag these teams down with us. That's really what it seems like when we're able to come out with these wins. And when you watch these games, I don't know if it's the production or, you're feeling like, oh, I'm watching a nationally televised game, so it feels a little bit different. But whenever I watch these nationally televised games, it just feels like we are on a different planet than some of these elite teams. And this was the game where you're like, that is exactly what this is. Well, this is a team contending for a title, and we are contending for Paolo Banchero.
Right. Well, I feel like that was, like you said, the Magic ugly up games, and it's not because they look incredible when they win some of these games. Don't get me wrong. Certain aspects of the game will look incredible, compared to what we're used to seeing maybe. But like I said it after the Timberwolves game, right? Where the Magic win that game by 18, and it's true. The Magic uglied up that game. The T-Wolves had 14 turnovers. That's not ideal for them. The Magic had 16 turnovers and just were able to shoot 80% from the free throw line, where the T-Wolves shot 11 of 19. And the T-Wolves just happened to have a terrible night shooting the three ball and from the field. 37% from the field, 27% from three.
And had a horrible fourth quarter.
Yeah. So that is the biggest thing, and that's what I said at the time, and it remains true. The Magic are going to win these games when they ugly it up. When not only their stats are ugly, but the opposing team's stats are ugly as well. And that's just kind of what it is. I mean, you look at when they beat the Jazz shot 19% from three. Let's see. The Jazz had 18 turnovers to the Magic's 13 turnovers. One of the only time the Magic have won the turnover battle. So the Magic have to force turnovers. They have to make the bell ringing plays. Those are the types of things the Magic have to do to win games, especially when you're playing the top talent in the league, like the Brooklyn Nets. Otherwise, you're going to get your doors blown off and lose 123-90.
Well, when you shoot 12% from three, I mean, David Steele could do it,
and they shot like 40-something%.
Yeah, David Steele could do a deep dive into this. I doubt there's been a time in the last 15 years that a team has won a game shooting 12% from the 3-point line. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's maybe the 90s when they didn't shoot threes as much.
I said 15 years. We're going back to 2006.
Exactly. That's why I said maybe if you look in the 90s, you're going to find those games, but they don't exist here because volume's so high.
Well, what I think a lot of this comes down to is when you have a superstar in Kevin Durant, I mean, you have another superstar in James Harden, it just makes offense easier. It just makes things easier for everyone else on your team. Mm-hmm. You're really able to get the ball moving from side to side because they're paying so much attention to certain guys. And obviously, we'll talk about the Wizards game, but the Magic really struggle with that, especially when they go up against top defenses in the league. And I think that's kind of why it feels like the offenses don't resemble some of the elite teams in the league, because, I mean, who are we kidding here? We're not an elite offensive team. The ball movement and everything like that you see out of a team like the Nets. I mean, they do play a lot of isolation basketball, but or if you look at a team like the Wizards, always moving the ball around, guys moving off ball. Steve Kerr is just really ingrained that into each player's DNA there. It's beautiful to watch, and really look forward to the day that we can say that about the Magic, but currently we cannot, Luke. This is really depressing so far, so let's go ahead and talk about Game 2, which will really cheer us up. Saturday, home versus the Wizards. I did make the trek to Amway to watch this game. It was my second game to cover the team as a member of the media. I got to see our beloved Josh Robbins now covering the Washington Wizards, so it's really nice to be able to say hello to him for a few minutes. One thing that you guys might not know is that they feed the media. So I learned this
This is Jonathan.
My first
might
game.
be Jonathan's favorite
Well,
part.
I walked in and I'm like, bro, what is this spread? So I made sure not to eat, lunch really before I headed over there yesterday. And I walk in and they've got like chicken parm, they got chicken Alfredo, they've got sautéed zucchini and like tomatoes and everything. And the wonderful, very friendly, very nice staff at Amway goes, "What would you like?" And I said, "You know what? I will take a little bit of everything, please." And it was very good. Really, really appreciate the staff. They're very nice people. That's one thing that I didn't really expect at the Amway. Everybody's very friendly. Everyone says hello to you, asks you how you're doing, everything like that. It's really a great environment. But yeah, shout out to the Amway, like the staff preparing the food and serving the food. Really appreciated that. If you guys didn't know that,
it's a good thing that they fed you dinner that night, because that might have been the highlight of the night for you. Because what you watched after that was,
well, I sat down like in the the media loge. Okay, it's located on the club level. It took me forever to find. Again, I had to have a member of the Amway staff help me find that because I couldn't find it. I got lost. As soon as I sit down, I look the next row over. There's a guy slamming an ice cream drumstick in front of me. I want to be like, "Yo, where'd you get that?" But I against my better judgment, I did not ask him. But at halftime, I went out and got myself a nice hot pretzel. That was probably my highlight of the night. I really, really enjoyed
the hot pretzel.
That.
Did you have cheese?
No, I didn't ask for the cheese, and then I didn't think to ask for mustard. When I went over to the mustard, like a little dispenser, I guess because of COVID, they're not bringing those back yet. It was completely empty, and I was like, I guess I'm eating this plain, and it was still fire. Nice and soft, just the right amount of salt. I'm a big mustard on a hot pretzel guy. I will go the cheese, but I love mustard on a hot pretzel.
Oh, I mean, I love cheese on anything. Was your pretzel warm or what?
Yes. Yeah, it was almost hot.
Sometimes they oversalt those, so that's where I'm a little bit leery.
Yeah, that's not possible.
Oh. But you said it was properly salted.
How many Chili's, like neighborhood grills, do they have in Omaha, Nebraska?
Chili's? Well, do they have Chili's here? I don't know if they have Chili's here.
All right, so Chili's, you go, right? You just sit down. If you want, they'll bring you like the chips and salsa for free if you're sitting in the bar.
They do have Chili's here. For those of you who are wondering about Omaha, Nebraska, they have Chili's here. Okay, continue.
Perfect. So those chips are very salty when they come out. I put even more salt on them. I love like salty snacks and
I
chips
do
and
love
everything
salt.
Like that.
Don't get me wrong. I put salt on everything too. Lauren thinks that probably I oversalt things, but yeah, pretzels though, that's one area where
that's a discussion you need to have with your primary care physician. But yeah, I'm not judging you here based off of your salt consumption or anything like that. I'm right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about the less fun part of the evening.
We're procrastinating.
The food was really the best part. So really, what this game came down to is, particularly in the first half, the Magic just could not generate offense. I believe, Luke, coming into this game or into this week, the Wizards were like 4th in defensive rating in the entire league, and that is not a fluke. Like Aaron Holiday, like really at the point of attack. Cole Anthony gave him a lot of issues all night. Spencer Dinwiddie, even like we make fun of Kyle Kuzma for valid reasons, but even he was really, really good defensively last night. Daniel Gafford, I remember Nikola Vucevic literally daddying Daniel Gafford last year. And he is much improved defensively, was giving guys issues all night. Really good defensive team in the Washington Wizards, but the Magic could not get any offensive flow or rhythm whatsoever. Down 13 at the half. In the third quarter, they did cut the deficit to 10. At one point, it got back up to 11. It was 11 with 6:30 to go in the third quarter. I believe Chuma Okeke hits a 3. And then Kyle freaking Kuzma, of all people, scores 12 points in a row for Washington to put Orlando down 18. So he hits like a stupid hard, I believe it was the end of the shot clock, pull-up jumper over Chuma, like from the top of the key or whatever, and then hits a 3 from, I believe it was their right corner. It was to my left. Then he hits a 30 freaking footer in Chuma Okeke's face, and then comes down and hits another 3. And then I believe gets fouled the next time, makes like one of 2 free throws.
Yeah.
12 straight points for Kyle Kuzma. The Magic go down 18 at that point. They're down 23 heading into the fourth quarter. Lose the game 104-92. The game was not that close. Like, the Magic cut that deficit within like the last 3-4 minutes of that game. But the game, especially in that fourth quarter, just was never, ever, ever close. Leading all scorers for the Magic, looking at Cole Anthony, but he shot 4 of 16 from the floor. Wendell Carter, he left early in the Nets game with an eye abrasion, was donning the big, not quite Horace Grant, goggles, but pretty big goggles. 17 points for Wendell Carter in this one, finishes with seven rebounds. Mo Bamba, 14 points, 17 rebounds in this game, but 2 of 9 from the three-point line. Magic end up shooting just 33% from the floor. Wizards 50% from the floor. And you've got Kyle Kuzma, obviously, with 17, which is crazy. A guy has 17, but 12 straight points. Spencer Dinwiddie ate the Magic up all night, 23 points, 11 rebounds. Montrezl Harrell, 20 points in almost 21 minutes.
On Wednesday, it was
Bamba.
LaMarcus Aldridge, and then coming off the bench and just torching the Magic, and then last night it was Trez. It's ridiculous. Like,
I feel like it was more Kyle Kuzma though. Like, Kyle was very quiet in that game, and it felt like the Magic had a chance in that third quarter, and then Kyle Kuzma was just like, "Nah, I got this," and then the game was over. Like, was LaMarcus Aldridge's 13 points in 4.5 minutes, but it was Kyle Kuzma 12 straight points in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, and I was basically likening to just a bench player coming off the bench and just absolutely just daddying the entire Magic roster. And, Montrezl Harrell was 9 for 13. Obviously, he doesn't shoot 3, so he didn't attempt a 3, and had 20 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, and there were plays, Jonathan, that legitimately made me mad where it's no secret, Mo Bamba is a great shot blocker, but when it comes to him being taken down in the post, good Lord, close your eyes, because Montrezl Harrell, who's like 6'10", is
He's
just
6'7".
Sorry, I knew that was high.
Mo's got 5 inches on him.
Yeah, so
conservatively speaking.
Right, but he plays big, which is why he plays the position he does. He doesn't shoot threes, whatever. But he just like put one shoulder into Bamba, and Bamba just done. Take him out, and he made it look easy. I mean, Montrezl Harrell played incredible.
It wasn't even that. Like, he was putting moves on Mo. Like, was getting past Mo with ease. And then, yes, trying to finish, lowering his shoulders, get Mo out of the way so that he could finish. But I think Harrell took one jumper from like the left elbow, I believe, and it didn't even hit the rim. Like, it smacked the backboard next to the rim. It was
true
hideous.
Montrezl Harrell fashion.
Yeah, the shot clock was running down. He didn't really have any options, so he pulled up, just missed everything. So like, you take that away, really, it's 9 for 12, 75% from the floor. And yeah, I mean, everyone is really happy with the progress that Mo has made. Like, 17 rebounds, that's one off of his career high. Okay, so you love to see that type of improvement, but the next step for Mo is just getting better at reading the defense, and just kind of making like instinctual reactions rather than trying to process everything in real time. And then a lot of times he's either chasing for blocks or he's coming over late and fouling guys, and then it's just being more physical with some of these just stronger centers. Like, you look at a guy like Montrezl Harrell, he's got 5 inches on him at least, and just really just dominated Mo Bamba. I don't think there's any way around that. Like, he really just outplayed him.
However, and while that is frustrating, obviously, like what I spoke about a few weeks back, Mo Bamba, I think I truly do believe he could be, even with WCJ rebounding at the level that he's at. I truly think that Mo could average 13 rebounds a game. And it you see flashes of it, and he's done better even as of late. But I first said that after the Raptors game where the Magic lose by 1, Bamba had 14 and 18, and I said on that next podcast, like, I want that to become like not abnormal, and I think he can do it. He's huge, man, and he's freaking 7 feet tall. He's got a 1,000,000-mile long wingspan. All you need at that point is just like the anticipation of where the ball is going to come off the rim, because there is like a huge science to that. In terms of, if you shoot it from the corner, there's a great chance it's going to bounce off and go to the other side, right? And so you need to position yourself. Mo Bamba is slowly but surely learning how to rebound correctly and kind of getting his angles right. And I do think that that's something that, is something we could see from him moving forward. But, Jonathan, I do want to talk about another Magic big man, WCJ. WCJ coming out in that game, hit like back-to-back, like hit 3 for 3 from 3. And just looked ridiculous from 3. It, dare I say, from the top, from the three-point line, reminded me a little bit of our boy Vucevic. Just the way that he was able to step into it with confidence, set his feet, nobody around him, and just knock it down. That's what you need, with a lot of these guys. And what is crazy about it, Jonathan, is that last year, during the tail end of the season, was the first time that he had ever shot over 1 3 a game, and it was in a Magic uniform. He shot 1.3 attempts a game. Before that, he shot 0.7 in Chicago. During that year, same year last year, shot 0.7, and then shot 0.9 the year before that, 0.7, 0.7, and was shooting like 18%, 20%. 29%. In Chicago was last year. Last year he shot 36.4%. So he started to kind of find his rhythm, but he wasn't even shooting that many at volume amount of threes. And then you have him this year shooting 3.9 threes a game, Jonathan, and 43% from 3. And I think you said something about this on Twitter, basically like if WCJ can get into the rhythm and knock down those shots from the top of the key, essentially, look out, right? It's a wrap. That's what you said. So yeah, it was incredible. And what kind of irritated me, someone said this on Twitter. We got a lot of people on Magic Twitter that say things in frustration. But the guy said, is really frustrating, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here. It's frustrating that WCJ and Mo just want to shoot threes all game. And my rebuttal to him would be, yes, Mo and WCJ need a little bit more, Mo especially, a little bit more in terms of like post-up moves, things like that. Defensively, they leave a little bit to be, Mo especially leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of just trying to body guys down low in the post and, is a great shot blocker, but if he can tie things defensively, all that aside, they're both shooting like almost 4 a game or 4 a game. Mo might be over 4, I can't remember. But they're both shooting like 4 a game, Jonathan. You know who else shoots 4 threes a game? The elite big men in the NBA. So really, this is a growing season, and I think WCJ and Mo obviously know that. They're learning to hit that 3-point shot. And it is something that could be just something that is just incredible to have from either of them moving forward. You got guys like Jokic, Kat, Joel Embiid. They all shoot like 4 threes a game, Jonathan. And they're all great shooters. Kat is debatably one of the best. Not debatably. He is one of the best shooters from 3 in the league. Kat's incredible. And you would say they're all pretty elite, right? And so if Mo and WCJ can continue to add to their game, and if it takes, them shooting an absurd amount of threes in a year where the team is growing, I don't care about that at all. Especially, Jonathan, they're not even shooting bad. So instead, turn your attention maybe to Gary Harris and T. Ross, who look completely different than anything I've ever seen from them. Gary Harris maybe a little bit more so, but because of just kind of his decline with injuries and things. But T. Ross, focus your attention on the vets who just don't seem to be doing things that they've always done. They're not doing them well. Instead of
let's make one thing very clear. We will be turning our attention to the veterans in actually just a few minutes here. So I love everything that you said. You mentioned Mo. He is averaging 4.3 attempts per game right now. Looking at Wendell, right now, he is one of the elite 3-point shooters in terms of centers in the league. His non-corner 3, so everything kind of above that break in the 3-point line, where the corner just goes straight, obviously, to the corner. Everything above that, so like straight on wing 3s, he's shooting 48% from 3. According to Cleaning the Glass, which is the 94th percentile for centers. all threes. Now, cleaning the glass takes away heaves, so like end of the shot clock, end of quarters, they do not count those against your percentage. All threes, 43%, which is the 89th percentile for centers in the league. So Wendell is legitimately right now one of the best three-point shooting bigs in the entire league. I love the straight-on threes. I love the trail threes. We started to see that more out of Vooch the last couple of seasons. The thing with Wendell for me, like this guy has everything that Vooch has except the post game. Obviously, like the little jump hook over the left shoulder. Yeah. If Wendell can develop a post game, right now there's nothing that I'm seeing that he can't be just as valuable as Vooch. Obviously, he's a better defender than Vooch. Vooch, I probably give the edge to rebounding wise. But like with Wendell, so consistent, obviously so far. Was a little bit worried with the eye abrasion that we were going to miss a few games. Missed basically half of the Nets game on Wednesday, but then was ready to go on Saturday. So I really like what we're seeing so far from Wendell.
Averaging
he's able to stay healthy the whole season,
and averaging 9.9 rebounds a game right now. So like, yes,
not a
Vooch,
bad rebounder by any means.
No, right. And I understand like Vooch is an incredible player. He's an all-star, right? But in terms of Wendell, man, I really like. I can't say enough about kind of just what he's been able to do right now, averaging a career high 9.9 rebounds. The last time he did that was 2019, 2 seasons ago. He averaged 9.4 through and only played 43 games. So if WCJ, keeps up a campaign like this, man, not much of an argument can be made against him. 13.6 a game right now, scoring 9.9 rebounds. Even 2.4 assists, not terrible. For someone who does what he does offensively, 28 minutes a game, not even 30 minutes a game, 50% from the field, almost 51 on 10.5 attempts, 43% from three. Like, I think I've said this obviously many times before already, but I can't get enough of WCJ and kind of what he's able to bring to the team while making really minimal mistakes. Like you said, if he can continue to improve his post game, I think that's the next thing that should be on his radar at least. He seems to have the 3-point shooting down. Just keep shooting them. I don't mind.
Yeah, I think a lot of the criticism, Mo Bamba hasn't shot the ball well recently. Started the year really, really hot from three. But like last night, shoots 2 of 9 from three. So you're seeing your team get their butts kicked. You see Harrell having his way with Mo Bamba every chance that he gets, and you see him have a poor shooting night like that. That's kind of an easy thing to poke at. Mo was one of the first guys last night said, hey, I shot 2 of 9 from three tonight. I need to shoot the ball better. My teammates need to be able to trust me that I'm going to knock down those shots. But in terms of Wendell, if he continues to shoot the ball at this clip, there's nothing that you can say. Just let the man take his 4 attempts a game and, just mind your business.
Right.
All right. So, but yeah, Wendell, he's been awesome. He's definitely been a bright spot for the Magic. All right, Luke, we're going to take a quick break, hear from our friends at Manscaped, and then we are going to talk about the veterans on this Magic team. Guys, this holiday season, I'm giving thanks to our friends at Manscaped. Do I tell my extended family that I have the Performance Package 4.0 from the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming? Not to mention it includes their Lawnmower 4.0. Gift yourself Manscaped or the man in your life who needs it. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with 20% off plus free shipping with the code SIXTH, that's SIXTH, by going to manscaped.com.
Think your holiday spread is good? It's time to give thanks to the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, or as I like to call it, the perfect package for your package. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. Think of it as a cornucopia for your balls. And can't forget the Manscaped's liquid formulations. They're like the pumpkin pie and ice cream after Thanksgiving dinner. You can't live without it. The Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Crop Reviver toner spray. Your balls will be living in turkey heaven with these formulations.
Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code SIXTH at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code SIXTH, SIXTH, at manscaped.com. Be thankful this holiday season for the best gift of all from Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. Okay, Luke. So we mentioned, I think it was last week, that at some point we were going to be ready to have the discussion about the veterans on this team. So when we're talking about the veterans on this team, really the guys that we're talking about Gary Harris, we're talking about Terrence Ross. I'm more so speaking in a general sense right now. Michael Carter Williams, Robin Lopez, to a certain extent, Etuan Moore, Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, right? Out of that group, the only two guys that are really getting minutes on a nightly basis are Gary Harris and Terrence Ross. Now, Gary Harris missed, a few games at the start of the season, but for the last, 2 weeks or so, he's been getting a lot of minutes in the rotation. He's been a big part of that second unit. And obviously, coming into this week, the Magic had one of the best starting lineups in the NBA in terms of their net rating. I haven't looked at it tonight, but I'm sure the last couple of games has probably come down a little bit if I had to guess. So one thing that people are pointing at is just the performance of Terrence Ross and Gary Harris, right? Say what you want about, Terrence Ross. He's been a fan favorite over the years, has really always been a catalyst off the bench offensively. You bring him into the game, he's got the ultimate green light. You count on him for instant offense. I don't know that you're necessarily looking at Terrence to be like this calming presence on the floor for the young guys. I know he's a good veteran, in his own right, talking to guys, during practice and in the locker room, but specifically throughout the course of a game, he's not a guy that you're counting on to like organize the offense and really calm everybody down. Heading into this season, Luke, I don't think many people thought that Terrence had a chance to be in that starting lineup. Gary Harris is a guy that we all thought had a real potential to start. Guy's making $21 million this year, a guard. We didn't know, was Cole going to start? Was Jalen going to start? What was going to happen at the point guard spot? But we thought Gary Harris has a good chance to start either at the 2 or the 3. Gary, with his experience in Denver, the team success that they've had, the playoff moments that he's been in, he's the guy that I thought was going to be able to come in at any given time, organize things a little bit to a certain extent, make sure guys know where they're supposed to be, and really just be able to calm everybody down. And we'll get more into kind of like their raw numbers and how they're kind of underperforming that way. But just in terms of like the intangibles that veterans bring, we're not seeing that right now in the flow of the game. I do believe that those guys are valuable to have at practice and in the locker room and, on the bus and, the team playing and talking to guys. But just in terms of being like the steadying force on the floor, we have not seen that out of either Terrence Ross or Gary Harris so far to start the season.
Yeah. Like you said, a lot of us thought that Gary Harris would be a guy that could step into the starting lineup, be a veteran presence that the team needs. And unfortunately, Jonathan, I think we've seen so far this season why he's not in the starting lineup. You've got your other vet, T. Ross, that'd be coming off the bench. If Gary Harris was good enough, if Mose thought he was good enough in terms of his shooting, and if he wasn't off and everything and checked all the boxes, no reason. I don't think this is a strategy play as to why Gary Harris isn't starting, right? He's also just probably not in the plans of the team for the future. That he knows that. The front office might have told Mosley that, and they said, work on it to throw your young guys in there at the starting lineup and just kind of see what we have and let them grow because Harris isn't going to be in our plans at the end of the season. Jonathan, you can look at the numbers and all you want, right? I mean, they're not good. But if you look at the per 36, it's worse. Gary Harris for per 36, Jonathan, 8.5 points a game. That should tell you enough of what it is and like what he's been able to contribute so far. I think he's playing 20 minutes a game and averaging 5. So Gary Harris is just not the Gary Harris that we knew. He's not the Gary Harris that I was excited about when the Magic got him. Everyone obviously, would eventually would start to talk about, RJ and RJ Hampton and everything. But I mean, I talked about it with you on and off air. I think Gary Harris can be a really key part of this team. I'm excited about Gary Harris. And unfortunately, he's just not He's not who we thought that he was or is. So we're getting the battered, maybe mentally worn down. I don't know, because he is a decent shooter, right? Like, he is a good 3-point shooter. But right now we're just not seeing it. And I don't know if it's rubbing off on T. Ross. I have no idea. So I really don't know as far as these guys go, Jonathan, what can be said besides they're definitely not in the future plans because they're not producing like it, and I don't know if they're acting like it.
Well, so I think another criticism that we've seen is like that these guys are like checked out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's fair to say. I can tell you last night, like standing next to the tunnel watching those guys like walk in the locker room after the game, like Gary Harris like hit the door or something like that. Like he was obviously pissed off and frustrated at that loss. I believe it was after, the Nets game the other night. Terrence led all scorers, 17 points, shot the ball pretty well. I believe he was asked after that game, just kind of what's going on with his offense so far to start the year. And he said, I'm still trying to figure out what my role is on this team, where my shots are going to come from in the offense. So obviously he's not exactly comfortable in his current role. Luke, you talked about the per 36 numbers. Like let's talk about Terrence just for a second. Last year averaged 15.6 points per game in 29 minutes. This year 26 minutes, 9.4 points per game. He shot 41% from the floor last year. He's only dropped down to 39% from the floor this year. Okay. 5 less attempts per game though. And the 3-point shooting is really where the numbers drop. 33% last year, which isn't great in terms of, Terrence's standards, but a lot of the year last year, he was like the main focus, for the defensive team in that second unit. 33% last year. He's shooting 26% so far. His usage rate is down. And it's not just that he's getting like, really difficult looks. Like even his catch and shoot numbers are also down from last year. Like just offensively across the board, Terrence Ross is not playing to the standard that we're accustomed to. And people, I guess it's a fair question to think. I don't know that I would vocalize it and kind of like put it out into the, the Twitterverse that I'm having these questions about, does he want to be here? Is it, his effort? There might be some of that. He might realize that this isn't where he wants to be right now, this stage in his career. He might want to play for a contender. But I do think there is some validity to the fact that he's still very much trying to figure out his role. And, the emphasis right now is on the young guys and, getting them minutes. And, again, his usage rate is down. So even when he's on the floor, he isn't as big of a part of of the offense.
Yeah, and I think, this is what I was going to say about T. Ross. I think a lot of it is coaching scheme. I think that, he was used to his role with the Magic the last few years. He knew his role, come off the bench, get hot, keep this team in games, elevate the bench unit. But you said something, I don't even think it was on air, a few weeks ago. You said something to the effect of like WCJ, where he sets his screens for T. Ross, it's below the 3-point line, whereas when guys like Kem Birch were setting screens in the bench unit for T. Ross, it was basically above the 3-point line, well above it, and Kem Birch also was setting just ridiculously hard screens, some would debate illegal, and allowing T. Ross to free up and shoot, and he'd curl off that screen, and he'd be right there, right on the 3-point line. Now it seems like that's just different. The scheme is different. That's got to be a coaching thing. It's not like they don't do walkthroughs or they didn't do walkthroughs during camp or whatever it might have been. And Mosley told him like, T. Ross is a great shooter. Set these screens lower. Let him come off and shoot the mid range. I don't know what it is, but I will put some blame, I think, on the scheme. Like you said, his usage isn't as high. I just think he's not been able to get into a rhythm because he's trying to find his role because the scheme has been so different. And I think that is a huge thing. I think that like we can, dump on T. Ross all we want, but I do think it is philosophy as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, you don't want to make excuses for the head coach, but we have to be realistic with our expectations and what we're asking from a rookie, first-time head coach who doesn't have any experience really in making these types of adjustments. I think just in between, all the young guys trying to get them minutes, trying to fix things like the turnovers, getting it, kind of ingrained into their brains that even when you're not shooting the ball particularly well, that's even when you have to give more of an effort defensively. And, especially, in the Wizards game last night, we just didn't see that. So he's got a lot that he's trying to figure out right now. I think that just might be one thing that he's not really either concerned about or is able to get to yet. We all know that the second unit, look at the game that we won against the Knicks. That was Terrence Ross going crazy in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Obviously, the second unit and the team is going to be better as Terrence Ross is better. It's just kind of strange that, a couple of the staples of the Steve Clifford offense, like the pin downs for Terrence Ross, the fake dribble handoff that Terrence Ross and Aaron Gordon would have kind of in the corner, and then Terrence would, backdoor cut and Aaron would hit him with the bounce pass.
Yeah.
We saw one instance of that in the first handful of games with Franz. We haven't gone back to it at all. If there's anyone on this roster that I think it would work with, I think it would be Franz. I think, obviously, different coaches, he wants to do things his own way. But if you're looking to get a guy like Terrence and kind of unlock him, Steve Clifford has done a better job of that than any coach that Terrence has had. So I don't think it would be, ill-advised for Mosley to go back and be like, all right, what was Terrence doing the last 3 years here that made him so successful? And then take a couple of those plays and implement that into the offense that you run, especially that back door. He's just had some crazy dunks off of that. Just get him some easy ones early in the game. Obviously, shooting is all about confidence. He doesn't seem very confident right now, even though he keeps pulling the trigger. But there's blame in multiple spots. I don't want to say it's all on Terrence or it's all on Mosley. Terrence needs to shoot the ball better. Again, I mentioned shooting, I believe, a career low in catch and shoot, if I'm not mistaken, but I know that it's down from last year. He's missing open shots as well. When he does get those opportunities, he needs to knock them down. So, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, with a shooter, especially Terrence Ross, who can get hot in a second, you need to treat them if you're the coach, you need to treat them like a quarterback who just came in the game, is replacing the star quarterback, comes in the game. What do? You run wheel routes, you get have them check down, screen passes, whatever you can to get them in rhythm is what you can do. And like you said, setting up T. Ross, the blueprint, and like you said, there to an extent, you're able to defend Mosley because it's a different scenario. But what hasn't changed is that T. Ross should be the focal point of that second unit to me. I know that, Chuma is there and whatever, but T. Ross, I think right now offensively has the higher ceiling than a Chuma Okeke or a Gary Harris or whoever it is. I get you can try to give the benefit of the doubt to Mosley, but I can't. I really can't here because the blueprint is right in front of him.
Yeah.
You had the last 3-4 years of Terrence Ross game film that you can legitimately just see, okay, how does it, and maybe it just does, like I said, it all comes down to coaching philosophy. Who knows what the front office has been saying in his ear. I would also understand it more if the front, if he was playing way less minutes, right? He's not able to get in rhythm because of that. No, it's simply because he's not being used correctly. He's playing 3 minutes less a game. I really do think that this is something that falls on Mosley's shoulders in terms of that. And I think it's probably taken a mental toll on Terrence and his ability to shoot and his confidence. Terrence is a very confident player, but it's hard to do that when you completely, his role is completely different, it seems, and the way that they're using him. I don't know. It's almost like Mosley hasn't watched any film from previous years.
So, again, catch and shoot percentage, 27.8 on the year right now. That's a career low. Just for reference, last year it was 37.8. Back in 2018, 2019, when he was really shooting that thing, 42% catch and shoot opportunities. So he's missing open looks as well. So, I mean, I think what's so disappointing is we all knew that like a strong veteran leadership for this team was important. I feel like they do have that in the locker room, which is incredibly important, maybe even more important than it is on the floor. But we're not getting it on the floor. Like we signed Robin Lopez, we're like, oh, that'll be, like a good veteran. And the funniest thing at the time was like people were like, oh, he's going to come and be the backup center and Mo's going to be riding the bench. Like Robin Lopez is like a complete afterthought right now in terms of like the rotation. But it is really disappointing because we can't really count on anyone for that at this moment. I cannot believe I'm about to say this. Steve Clifford is listening right now somewhere laughing. I cannot wait for Michael Carter Williams to come back. I really can't, because Michael Carter Williams, whatever you want to say about him, he can at least come in and get the offense somewhat organized.
Yeah.
He's going to bring that edge defensively and competitively, but he's going to be able to help get the offense organized. Our biggest issue with Michael Carter Williams was not stop shooting threes. Like that's just something that you should never do. But it was more so our frustration with Cliff, that Cliff was doing whatever he could to get Michael Carter Williams on the floor to the detriment of a guy like Markelle Fultz. Like relegating Markelle Fultz to like spot up corner threes at the end of the shot clock in an offense with Michael Carter Williams. At that point, you're playing like 4-on-5, 3-on-5. There's no point in having both of those guys out there together because neither of them can shoot. So that was always kind of the issue with Michael Carter Williams. But right now, like this team really could use Michael Carter Williams, and it feels like until Markelle is going to come back, I think like Cole might be like the heart and soul of the team, like the vocal leader, but the guy that is really going to be able to lead from the floor is going to be Markelle Fultz, orchestrating the offense, getting everybody into the correct position. I still think he's the best passer, the best playmaker on this team. Him coming back into the fold is going to be really big. And then in terms of just like calming presences, it's going to be Markelle Fultz. It's going to be Jonathan Isaac. It's going to be MCW to a certain extent. Michael Carter Williams should be back, I think, like relatively soon. Like if he's not back in like the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to be like, okay, what's going on? Because training camp, it seemed like he wasn't that far off. Certainly ahead of Markelle and Jonathan Isaac. And that's a whole nother conversation that we can have about those guys. But we need those guys back, man.
My last question before we wrap up, obviously, Jonathan, we've been going on for about an hour here. MCW, when he comes back, does he take Gary Harris's minutes?
I think you can make the argument.
I think he should.
Well, this is the thing that I have with Gary Harris. At this point, you need to decide if you're still going to try to pursue a trade to get Gary Harris away.
You need something.
Or are you just going to buy him out? And the reason that you need to make that decision, because his value right now is at an all-time low. He's making $21 million. He's averaging 5 points a game. The last time that I checked was before the Nets game, so I don't know if this has changed at all. But in terms of an opponent's field goal percentage when you're the closest defender, he was one of the lowest on the team. So the eye test tells you that his defense has been fine. I would need to kind of look into some of the circumstances surrounding that, opponent field goal percentage, but he had one of the lowest on the team. So whatever it is, he's playing good defense. Guys are just knocking down shots over him regardless. So at least the eye test tells you that he's been fine defensively. I don't think he's amazing. I would still say Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs have been the best defenders on this team. And that stat actually tells you that. Opponent's field goal percentage when you're the closest defender, those guys are the two highest on the team.
Yeah.
Up there with Michael Mulder, who's played like 30 seconds. So I'm not going to, look too much into that. But, if you're not, you have to continue to play Gary Harris if you want to trade him. Nobody's going to trade anything worth of value for a guy making $22 million who, if you're looking to get something valuable, it's going to have to be collective assets. It's not just going to be one thing that you move, or you're just trading crappy guy for crappy guy at that point.
I don't want anything for him at this point. Like, to me, these shooting numbers, I don't know if they come up. They can't get worse. I don't know if they improve enough to really improve
He's
any
shooting
type
like
of
13% from three.
I don't know if there's any type of trade value improvements that are going to be made for him.
I feel like you have to buy him out, like come buyout time, February, March.
I
just don't see you being able to trade him.
Yeah, and if you do, you're trading him for nothing, right? But you got to fulfill the salary of $20 million. So it's a tough situation. But that being said, I have fully convinced myself MCW needs to come back and just take all his minutes. I think that's all that needs to happen.
I mean, in terms of asset management, I don't think that's the best way to handle things, but I do agree with you that it's probably the best thing for the team.
Yeah.
That's what angle I'm coming from. I do think we would be better right now on the floor with Michael Carter-Williams versus Gary Harris.
Right.
So
agree.
That's kind of where we are. Last thing I wanted to bring up, Luke, we didn't touch on this when we talked about the Wizards game, but in the fourth quarter, Jalen Suggs came down on someone's ankle, rolled his right ankle, hopped back to the locker room, couldn't put any pressure on the ankle. He did not come back. Today he was listed as day-to-day, so he's questionable for Monday's game in Atlanta. So glad, that he's not going to, it doesn't seem like he's going to miss, a lot of time. So we got lucky with that one. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, Jalen Suggs is going to be listed day to day and we're not going to see him until March.
No. So that's the thing, right? Like that was the thing that kind of irritated me. Like a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to be out for months. This front office, man, this front office knows they can't afford that for the development of Jalen Suggs. If he can play, he's going to play. Like, I get that we're mad.
Conversation then. But so what's going on with Markelle and J.I.?
No clue.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I have no idea what's going on with them, but I do know that they're years into their career, right? Obviously, they need to develop more, right? A J.I. offensively, or pick up where he left off in the bubble offensively. Defensively, no one's worried about J.I. Markelle has improvements that need to be made. And will benefit obviously from more reps and everything. But yeah, no, as far as Jalen Suggs, this is a completely different situation. This is not like even when the Magic come down to the end of the season and they're resting guys for stupid things, Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner, Jalen especially, just needs to continue to get PT, get reps, and continue to get better and fix turnover problems and everything else and just like get the feel for the game that he can't afford to be out games that he can play. And I think that's what we're seeing. Guys like Markelle and J.I., yes, I mean, they're coming off of major injuries. This is completely different to me. So, yeah, I think that as far as Jalen goes, I'm happy that he'll be back shortly. And, I never thought they would. But for the people who thought, the Magic are going to hold him out, absolutely not.
Well, what was concerning to me is that he hopped off, didn't put any pressure on that ankle, and it looked like a pretty significant roll. So I was like, okay, we might not see him this week. I thought at the most, maybe he's out a week or two. But you are correct. It is different circumstances, especially with Markelle. Markelle, let's not forget that guy is just 10 months out from tearing his ACL. It's not the Jonathan Isaac. As much as people want to lump those together, I think there is something to the sense that the Magic kind of want to hold these guys out as long as possible, make sure they're ready to go, accumulate a few more L's along the way, might not hurt. With Markelle, though, I don't think it's as big of a deal that he's not playing yet, even though John Hammond came out and said, oh, well, he might be ready for opening night type of thing. Yeah, that's exactly why.
That's the reason.
And that's the reason that the Magic don't say anything, because when it doesn't happen, now everyone's like, what's going on? Everyone's all upset. Producer Kevin, all right, tonight, when he found out that Klay Thompson is roughly 5 to 6 weeks from returning, is now irate. He basically said, I've been giving everyone the benefit of the doubt with these guys, coming back. But now I'm really upset. And my response was Kevin, I've been upset 10 times since the ACL injury. Welcome to the party. My keg is now empty. I don't have the ability right now, without having anything else change, to get irate over this. This is what I think it is. Again, a couple other L's, along the way doesn't hurt the Magic and, the tanking project or the rebuilding project if you're looking to get another high pick this year. What it comes down to for me, and we don't have any proof of this, Jonathan Isaac gets hurt New Year's Day, 2020.
Yeah.
Supposed to be a 6 to 8 week injury at the time, something like that. Obviously, the entire league shuts down. Now we're getting ready for the bubble, and it's not entirely clear whether or not Jonathan Isaac is going to participate in the bubble. And then all of us are like, yo, it's been 6 months. You said 6 weeks.
Right.
Something went wrong. Something is not right here. So that's kind of when everyone's ears perked up, right? If Jonathan Isaac would have been totally healthy and ready and they wouldn't have said anything about the need to start the bubble, I don't think we're having the same conversation that we are now. Obviously, we all know he plays 2 games, then tears his ACL. Then we're all like, oh my gosh, did he come back too soon? He was still wearing this bulky knee brace, blah, 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 blah. The Magic come out and say the injuries are completely unrelated from one another. It's just 2 freak accidents, okay? Bumps the knee with, I believe it was Bradley Beal. Hurts, the knee the first time, and then, tears his ACL on the hop step against the Kings. What I think it is now is the Magic are just, from like an optics perspective, if he comes back and in any way, shape, or form they are able to be perceived as bringing him back too early, it's a really bad look for them. So they are going all of the way to the complete opposite end of the spectrum and saying, we are going to hold him out so long that it seems ridiculous. So there is no room for doubt if he does come back and, please, Jesus, God forbid, he hurts himself again. I will not know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
They are just looking to avoid that at all costs. By all reports, there haven't been any type of setbacks or anything like that. Even recently we heard he was still wearing the brace. Seems like he's kind of weaning off of that. I will not be irate with this until Christmas comes and goes. If we hit January 1st and we've not seen Jonathan Isaac, keg just pulled up, Kevin. It's game time. Then we will burn this mother to the ground. We will get on this podcast. I will scream in frustration. I will ask for names, addresses, what's happening, what's going on. Not really addresses. This is not a threat to anyone. Okay, let's get that clear. But I will be very upset if we do not see Jonathan Isaac by the 1st of January without some kind of lengthy, like, okay, guys, this is what's really happening. We've kept you waiting and waiting and waiting. Yeah. Here's everything. And then we can analyze what in the HE double hockey sticks happened.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the games for next week? Is that where we are?
I think that's where we are.
I think that's where we are.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Coming up this week, Monday, 7:30 at Atlanta, take on the Hawks. Then Wednesday, the 17th, at New York to see those wonderful Knicks again. That game starts at 7:30 Eastern. Hey, then we get to see the Brooklyn Nets again. This is just freaking great. Friday, November 19th at the Brooklyn Nets again, 7:30 Eastern. And then we get to take on the Milwaukee Bucks, the reigning NBA champions, the second night of a back-to-back for the Orlando Magic at Milwaukee. That game is at 8 o'clock Eastern. Luke, what happens this week?
Do you smell that? I think that's...
Is that a broom?
That's... ew. It's 0-4. That's what that is, Jonathan.
0 and who?
0-4. Yeah, that's terrible, man. That is an awful stretch.
Well, I just found out that the Hawks, DeAndre Hunter is undergoing surgery on a tendon injury in his right wrist, miss approximately 2 months. Might be a little bit of a closer game against the Hawks, but
0-4.
I think we go 0-4.
Yeah.
I think the one chance that you have on that trip is going to be tonight, Monday, against the Hawks.
Gotta be.
Hawks kind of off to a rough start. I don't think you're beating the Knicks, the Nets, or the Bucks.
Oh, maybe you got the Knicks number. I don't know, but to go into MSG and do that twice,
Cole we're gonna need pop off again.
We're gonna need a T. Ross, 20-point fourth quarter. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. Games
I would
at
not
MSG
describe
are always
myself
fun,
as overly optimistic.
No,
this week.
No.
And folks, if you have been struggling at all this season, like I have admittedly been struggling with the performance of this team, if you're on the fence right now about whether or not you're going to watch this team the rest of the season, stop now. Because the rest of November and December, into the new year, it's just playoff team after playoff team after playoff team that the Magic play. So this is the part of the schedule that we were talking about, back in, July, August, whenever it was that we got the schedule. This was the part that we were the Magic are going to lose a lot of games here. So strap in.
I think, yes, if you're debating, it's going to get worse as a team collectively. However, I think individually, this is where we're going to see guys take another step if they're going to. You're playing against contenders. You're playing against the best of the best. They're going to give you a memorable game of their career because it's going to be against a Bucks, a Nets, a Knicks, whoever it is. I think that there's going to be some fun games. So while it's going to suck, here's the silver lining. The team sucks anyway. Any of the wins that the Magic get along the way these next couple months, there's a great chance it's going to feel like a really good win and a win that provides growth to the young players and to the team and also our morale as well. It'll make us be like, oh, the sky's not falling. We were able to beat, whatever playoff contender or, championship contender was that night.
We are keeping receipts this season. You need to pick your side of your alliance now. If we end up beating one of these teams this week, especially like the Nets or the Bucks, I do not want to see people celebrating the Magic winning, the 15th, 16th, or 17th game of the season and then be upset when we win the 79th or 80th game of the season when we're in contention for a top 3 pick. I don't want to see any of that. You can either be just as upset about winning game 3 against the Knicks as you are winning game 82. You are not able to switch sides. We're paying attention this season. We're watching you folks out there. If you start flipping and flopping, you will be called out. I promise people that right now. I'm paying attention to who's upset about wins, which is no one.
All
so
right.
do not be upset about wins come March and April because they all count the same.
I am officially, and have been, officially anti-lottery, Jonathan. What does that mean?
We got
that
screwed.
means
That's what it means.
That means I've been burnt, but it also means when the Magic win, if it takes us from at the end of the year, it's going to make people so mad. I'm going to get on the podcast. We're going to win a game, and it's going to take us out of being tied for the best odds for the number 1 pick. And I'm going to get on this podcast, Jonathan, and say, good. I don't want it. I don't care what the odds are.
Until one of those 3 teams, until those teams end up 1, 2, and 3.
Ooh,
that's when we're going to be like,
if they end up 1, 2, and 3,
right,
that's fine. But if one of them gets removed, like we did last year, from those, the tied for the best odds, we're the only team with those odds to get taken out of the top 3 last year. If that happens, I don't care because that would have been us.
It's all revisionist history, and it's all completely random. So there's no point in getting upset about it. Yeah.
I mean, you look at it, 12.5% at that point last year, like the year in the was
you had a 40% chance of like something 40-something% chance of ending up with the top 3
I
pick.
knew I was anti-lottery after we celebrated Pokashevsky going crazy and get OKC that win. I knew that I didn't care anymore about the lottery when I really came face to face with those odds of getting the number 1 pick. And I was like, I don't, why did I care so much?
Yeah.
When it really gets down to it, you want it so bad and then you get it and then you're like, I don't care. I don't care anymore. I can't.
If you're Detroit, Houston, or Cleveland, you're pretty happy with the lottery last year at this point. But like for us, like
no,
I'm just done. You tell me
win
we go
as
through all
many
this,
games
then
as
we
you
get
want, sweethearts. Win them all.
9 to 10%, like 1 in 9 or 1 in 10 chance that you're going to get the number 1 pick, and a 4 in 10 chance that you're going to end up with a top 3. It's just all random. How like
stupid.
The 2 times we've won the lottery, guess what? We basically had 0 chance of winning the lottery. So the 3 times, that we won the lottery. So
and the knee-jerk reaction when you are tied for the number 1 odds, and I promise I'm almost done, but I really hate the lottery. When, like you said, the Magic had ridiculously low chances to win the lottery, and they've done it, and they did it every time, right? Now, logic would say, and the way we were last year was, hey, we won it when it was that low. Think of what we can do with the odds we have now. Nothing. You're not going to
random. You're
not
just
going to do
rolling the
nothing.
dice.
You're not going to do anything. For the betterment of yourself, just tell yourself the Magic aren't even getting a top 10 pick at the end of this year.
Well,
okay?
I mean, don't do that.
Well, listen, you'll feel better emotionally that night when the Magic get a number 5 or number 4. Yes, I understand your point. Yeah, absolutely received. Yeah, you can't flip flop. Be happy about these wins and then be sad about the wins at the end of the year. They all count in the same column.
Yeah.
So just shut up, watch the young guys grow, and be happy about whatever win you get, because young players don't get great on crappy teams. So root for the wins.
We're not going to close with a better line than that. I'll take this opportunity to do so. You guys are listening to the Six Man Show. Luke Sylvia, this has been Jonathan Osborne. Again, the Six Man Show. We appreciate you guys listening. We will catch you guys next time. See ya. Thanks for listening to the Six Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. Please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It would really help us out a lot. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Six Man Show, and like us on Facebook. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic.
Orlando Magic.
Ready?
Gonna get ya.
Gonna get you. All right, ready?
Yeah.